I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
All the way from hot Atlanta. Lee, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing swell. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk new album, Greetings from Suffocate City. I read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you know the internet loves to take liberties with stuff. You guys have been working on this album. The Funeral Portrait has been working on this since 2018, the beginning of this journey.
Yes. There's literally a song on the record, which is Holy Water, that we wrote in 2018. Now, that song was released in 2019. Right. Then we just re-released it on the record. But still, I mean, basically, for the past 5-6 years, we have been grinding away every single day on this record.
I love that, you know, and obviously starting out, developing that fan base where we're going to talk about later, the Coffin Crew, getting your live shows dialed in. We've really seen this kind of next phase for you guys. It has to feel pretty good. And I know this may seem like an obvious question or statement. It has to feel pretty damn good looking at 2018, that first song, and all the stuff that has culminated into this release, which is Greetings from Suffocate City.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to even think about. I mean, I remember, you know, I'm here in my studio here in Atlanta and being down here writing that song, like working on that song and being like, you know, oh, it would be great if we released this one day. And now, you know, we get done with this huge, massive arena tour, playing that song every single night. And now the record's fully out. And it's like, it's kind of mind boggling that you even just think of.
Well, it's super cool. And I'm super excited for you guys. A young group there out of Atlanta. Something that popped up a couple in my research is the Funeral Portrait is a emotional core band, an emotional rock band, an emotional pop band, which for me, as someone, you know, was in high school in the late 90s, early 2000s, when that big emo punk kind of new metal scene came out there. I hate labels, but I just think it's interesting. You guys obviously are showing a lot of that influence, I have a feeling, from those late 90s, early 2000s bands and bringing this new sound, this new flavor to it.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up loving like bands like My Chemical Romance, Avenged Sevenfold, AFI, you know, any of those like more dark, you know, and spooky bands. But like, I think for us, you know, we are an emotional band. Like what we sing about are the emotions of what everyday people kind of go through, you know, and I have lots of emotions. I have lots of problems too, as we should say, that I have to deal with every single day. But I think our whole thing is we have to be genuine. We have to be real. A lot of nowadays, I think with rock music, a lot of people just like care about being like unbreakable or like, you know, I'm climbing the mountain and getting there, you know, and not to like shoot them down or anything, but like that doesn't speak to me. That also, I know for a fact, doesn't really speak to our listeners, the Coffin Crew, you know. They like stuff that is more, quote, emotional, more real, more passionate. And that's something that we, from day one, have written about and make sure our songs are about. Even talking about Holy Water. I mean, that song, it's about, you know, being signed to our original record label back 10 years ago and them promising us a million different things and none of that coming true and how horrible and devastating it was for us. So we wrote a song about it.
Well, I love that you're not shying away from that. A lot of people may be like, well, don't label us this or don't I think it's great that you fully embrace it with whatever sound you're going for. But I do know there's a track that is very close to, if you don't mind talking about your grandmother and writing in that. Hard to put words to paper with an event like that, the passing of your grandmother. Tell us about that track.
Yeah, so Hearse for Two, which honestly almost didn't make the record. It's crazy because we wrote that back in 2020. It was about January 2020, and my grandmother passed away late 2019. And a kind of crazy even story is we signed to our current label, Better Noise, the day she passed away. Wow. I'm not joking. In my inbox, I saw it was from our lawyer. It said, it was literally like the final draft of the contract that we had signed, and it was like completed from them as well, signed. And I luckily was able to talk to her, and she was in hospice care, and she kind of understood. I could tell that she understood.
Yeah.
It's a very heavy moment for everyone, but my whole family's there, and I grew up, my grandmother was like my second mom. I grew up living with her my whole life, etc. So it was a big deal, and so I got to tell her, that basically I was going to be okay, or that this thing that we have been working on for so long finally is paying off, and that was such a big moment. So I really wanted to write a song about her passing, and basically Hers for Two is that song. And it kind of goes about it's my grandfather who is still with us. It was kind of like it's kind of a love song. It's kind of like a "Why Don't You Take Me To" song. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I think it was written in his perspective, but also kind of mine too, of doing life without a loved one.
Thank you for sharing. And again, I know sometimes writing it and performing it is different than talking about it. And I think it's so cool. And thank you for opening up on that, and just excited to see more of what you guys are bringing to and your own personal stamp on all of this music with the latest album. Again, greetings from Suffocate City. Yeah, I love that. And I love people being vulnerable and really sharing personal stuff, because that reaches, I think, on a deeper level with the listeners out there, which you're seeing, I'm sure now. Like you said, you just got done with this arena tour, which also too add in even more excitement on there, getting in front of those big crowds, opening for these huge bands. That gets the juices flowing pretty heavy.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, because 2 months before that, we just got done with the tour, which was about two months. But then 2 months before that, we were doing 250 cap clubs, like we were just headlining these 250 cap clubs around the US, and then our first show was in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and it was to like 20,000 people. And because they let the doors in like 3 hours early, because it was like a whole event thing. And we literally played to the whole crowd.
That's amazing.
I was sitting up there like, just think about where we were 2 months before this, playing to 250 people, in Pennsylvania. Literally, like, one of the last shows was in Pennsylvania. So it was just like insane. And we got to play like our first arena on the tour, which was in Bridgestone Arena, which was in Nashville, which I've seen so many shows at, and it's one of those moments that we, some of our members live in St. Louis as well. And he got to play, Caleb, he got to play his like home venue that he grew up watching. Awesome. He literally saw Five Finger Death Punch play that venue growing up, and then he got to play with Five Finger Death Punch at that venue. And so it was kind of crazy. There were so many full circle moments on that tour.
I love it, man. I'm super excited for you guys. Again, the Funeral Portrait from Atlanta got their album out, Greetings from Suffocate City, and really this giant milestone for you guys. And I know there's a lot to come.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Rock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.
I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
You also featured some very notable artists on this album, which that you were able to pull these, I think, is amazing. Obviously, Danny Warsnop, amazing vocalist. You have a Spencer. One big one for you is a band that you talked about in previous interviews that was a big influence on you, and that was Bert McCracken of The Used.
Yeah.
That had to be a pinch me moment, working with him or knowing he was going to be on this record.
Yeah, that was it was wild, because the Spencer feature kind of just fell in place because, being kind of friends with them and, them inviting us to go do their Silver Screen Con and all that kind of stuff. So the Spencer one just kind of really made sense.
Yeah.
The Bert one came out of kind of nowhere. I had this list. Our A&R was like, hey, list some artists that you would really want to feature or want to work with, anything. Right.
Yeah.
And The Used was on there. And she was like, I know his manager. I'm going to send him the song. This was right when we finished the song, and it literally was a rough demo, and she sent it over to his manager. His manager then sent it to Bert. Bert was actually in the studio at the time. He listened to it that day, said, oh my God, this is sick. Let's do it. And literally recorded the vocals the next day and sent them over to me. And I'm literally just pacing back and forth in my studio, freaking out, having like a massive moment, being like, I can't believe this. This is real. This is my life. Like I'm getting to work with like, like, I don't know, someone that I've just looked up to my whole life, or someone that inspired me to be in a band, and then featuring on a song that means also so much to us. It was just so weird. It was wild.
And I always love seeing artists come in and collabing and just making a really cool sound for the fans, because fans also love it too. They're listening to you guys, but then they get the treat of Danny popping in, or Bert popping in, or Spencer, and I think it's really great. Do you have a favorite track on the record? And I like to reword that as well. If favorite track doesn't do it for you, maybe a track that really speaks to you. I know you have some that are very close to you at this point, but
yeah, I think it's wild because I think so I'll say this, the song that I love playing live the most there's two of them. There's one called Suffocate City, which of course is the one featuring Spencer. And then there's Blood Mother, which is the song that actually comes right after it. And those just hit live. They're just so much fun. But then my favorite song probably on the record is probably Stay Weird. It's like a ballad. It's almost like Queen. It has this whole like Bowie moment, it just has this cool vibe to it. And it was a leap of faith. And I'm very happy that we like went with it. Because, we speak, the people that we speak for, are the outcasts, are the weirdos already. And we know that. And, we're not trying to be the cool kid. I was never the cool kid. None of my band members were ever the cool kid. So the idea of us like trying to fake it and be cool and write a cool song is just not going to work. So Stay Weird, we wrote it as kind of like this love letter to younger us, like if we could write a letter to 14-year-old Lee Jennings, and be like, hey, things will be okay. Just stay weird, stay you, be just original. Guess what? Down the line, you'll be on an arena tour and you'll be releasing a record, and it's cool. It's a cool moment to be like, if I could time travel, I would sing myself that song.
I love it. That's so cool. And you mentioned too, quite fondly, I might add, the Coffin Crew, which I brought up. These fans is the broad term for everyone who's fallen in love with you and has become fans of the band. I'm sure it probably also speaks to a lot of them as well. And I have a feeling you intended it to not just obviously be for you, but a message out there to anyone listening to the Funeral Portrait, like, hey, stay weird, be yourself, and you'll find that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely it. I know I call them kids, but I know our kids. I know our fans quote our Coffin Crew, because it's even more than that. I speak to some of them daily. I leave my DMs as open as I can. I try and check them as much as I can. There's some days are a little crazy, but I pop in and out. We have like a Discord that I pop in and out of. We have like a Facebook group that I pop in and out of. Like there's these things that I try and connect with them every single day. And I wanted to make sure that song really resonated with everyone, and it seems like it's doing it. It's wild how much that one, because we didn't release that as a single. That just came on the record. Nobody had heard it before. I think we played it live like twice back in 2021 just to test it when we were testing songs from the record. And back then it didn't really hit because nobody knew it, right? Live. But now maybe on this next tour when we pull it out, and it's just a piano and me and just us up there, it's going to be like, okay, it's going to be a moment.
I want it to be. I love it. I love it. Well, we're glad you guys stayed weird, and we're so happy to have the latest album, The Funeral Portrait, Greetings from Suffocate City. It's out now, dropped on the 13th, and plenty more to come. I'll end with this before we get to rapid fire. When you look at this album, let's say 15, 20 years down the road, wherever this band is at, they have multiple Grammys, maybe a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Let's think big, buddy. Let's think big, Lee. Where do you hope this album sits in the story of The Funeral Portrait? What do you hope you guys pull from this and fans pull from this experience?
I hope this is the one that got everyone's attention, right? Because it's hard, because we worked on this record, to the fact that, I mean, there's multiple times I fell out of love with this record, because it was stubborn. getting to this point. And that's not just the industry. That's not anybody. That's, I mean, we had 2 years of COVID, you know, where releasing music was kind of scary and we couldn't really tour. There was so many obstacles in our way for the past 5 years of releasing this record that, one, I'm glad we didn't release the first version, because there's been 3 or 4 different versions of almost all of these songs.
Right.
I'm very happy where it is, but I hope this is the first step. Right. Yeah. So anything that we did before this, technically to me, doesn't matter. Any of the singles, any of the old music, any of that doesn't matter. This is the Funeral Portrait. And moving forward, this is what the Funeral Portrait is, you know, and this is this is the ground floor. Right. And then we can kind of take each step as we go.
I love it. That was a beautiful answer, Lee. Well, very excited for you. The Funeral Portrait, Greetings from Suffocate City. It's out now. Now that the important stuff is out of the way, let's have some goofy fun. Let's stay weird. Play rapid fire. There's no wrong answers here, Lee. You just go with your gut, and we're going to learn a little bit more about you. Let's start simple. Baked potato or mashed potatoes?
Ooh, baked potato.
Baked potato. Fully loaded, obvioly, clearly.
Besides sour cream.
So I said, okay.
Sour cream's disgusting. Don't ever, never. Okay.
Wait, now hold on. I feel like was there a moment in your life where you had a bad experience?
Like, just going to Taco Bell and you getting like a burrito or something and then putting sour cream on it and you take a bite and you're like, wow, this is absolutely disgusting. It just ruined my day.
You get money shotted from the sour cream on that burrito.
I get it. God, dude, so many times. And they never listen to you either. No. So you say no sour cream, and they'll still put sour cream.
They're still on there. They don't care. They're working. Come on, they're making minimum wage. They don't give a damn.
I also don't blame them, so they don't get paid enough to care.
Everyone's getting sour cream. Disco or techno?
Ooh, techno.
Techno.
Yeah, I love synth music. Like I love so. Some of my favorite bands. There's this one band called The Faint. Oh my god, they are synth based, like punk band.
Yeah.
From like the late 90s, early 2000s. And oh my God, just super synth-based rock in general. I love.
Just good to dance to. That's what it is.
Yeah, just have a great time.
All right. Would you rather see Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster?
Ooh, Bigfoot, 1000%.
Do you ever feel that you've been close to Bigfoot?
Maybe a little bit, but I think, well, here, okay, so I live in Georgia, right? So we definitely have Bigfoot here. Okay?
Right, for sure.
So, and I also go to like Tennessee a lot. So, I mean, maybe I have been close.
Yeah. But hey, he's a sneaky son of a bitch. So even if you were, you're not going to know. You're not
exactly.
Gonna know. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
One horse-sized duck.
Reasoning behind that?
I just think it would be super fun. Like, I don't even know. Like that to me just seems hilarious.
Right.
I'd probably die. Well, first, I'd probably die of a heart attack for not believing that that's real. Right. I'm just seeing a Godzilla version of a duck, literally, you know?
Exactly.
But two, I don't know. I feel like the idea of like multiple little things scares me more.
Yeah.
Because you kill a few of them and you're like, oh, how many more? And then here comes more over the mountain, you know? And you're like, oh my God, you're about
you trip up, you get over a shoelace, you're done. You're toast, buddy. You're toast.
Toast.
Good reasoning. Everybody was kung fu fighting or everybody Wang Chung tonight?
Ooh, kung fu fighting.
Nice. Good song. Yep, maybe make that a cover next album. Sound good? I can see it. The Funeral Portrait. Everyone was kung fu fighting. Gold record. Unbelievable.
Incredible.
Lee, thank you for humoring me. More importantly, thank you for chatting new music. The Funeral Portrait. Greetings from Suffocate City. It's out now. Super excited for you guys. Keep up the great work, okay?
Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Rock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.